Hi, this is Shruti Jikini, Community Engineer from Harness. Today we are here with yet another interesting topic, that is Azure ACR to AKS Deployment. In this video, let us try to understand how to deploy a Docker image in your Azure Container Registry to an AKS cluster, and without any further ado, let's get started. In this video, we will cover setting up an Azure Container Registry to AKS Kubernetes pipeline in Harness, install and launch a Harness Kubernetes delegate in your target AKS cluster, connect Harness to your Azure account using a Harness Azure connector, run the new Kubernetes pipeline and deploy a Docker image to your target cluster. Before we get started with our hands-on, please make sure you have the following prerequisites ready: a GitHub account to fetch the manifest files, and for our example, we are going to use a publicly managed manifest files. Then once you have your Azure ACR and the AKS cluster ready, make sure you add the following permissions. For the ACR, you add a reader role assigned to it, and for an AKS, you add an owner role assigned to it. So make sure that you have a service principal or a managed identity that you can use to connect Harness to your Azure app registration. Before you create a Kubernetes cluster, make sure you keep following prerequisites in mind. So, you select a number of nodes 2, a machine type of standard DS2v2, an outbound HTTPS connection to app.harness.io, github.com and hub.docker.com, and make sure that you allow a TCP port 22 for SSH. Let's get started with the hands-on. So now we are on our app.harness.io next generation page. Go to the account settings, go to the organizations, create a new organization, give a name to it, and click on save and continue. Since I've already created, I already have an organization created in place. Let me get inside. Now you can create a project, give a name to it. I will give it like demo project ACR to AKS. Click on save and continue. And now if you want to add your teammates to this project, add them and give the roles that you want them to have inside the project, and click on save and continue. Now you have all these modules that you can explore, but let me talk about this later. Close it and just go to the view projects, and as I've already having a project ready for this demo, let's get inside. And as I've told, we have all these modules. For our example, we are going to deploy an application. For that, let us select continuous delivery module. Now in pipeline creation, the first step is installing a delegate. As I already have a delegate up and running, let me take you there. Let's go to project setup, go to the delegates and click on new delegate. Now you can either select Docker or Kubernetes, but as I have AKS cluster already in place, let me select Kubernetes. Click on continue. Now give a name to it. Don't give any spaces and make sure they are unique. You haven't given them before. So yeah, let me give something like this. Give a namespace to it. And select the installer and then click on continue. Now you have the YAML file. You can either download it and set it up locally, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, go back to my portal.azure.com and just create a directory for the first instance. Okay. Get inside. Now create an empty file. And just Now we need to paste that into this file. Now save it. And now just cat it to see if I've pasted it rightly. Yeah. Now let's go back to the page and click on continue, and then apply this, copy this command and come back and just paste it here and click on enter. So this will install delegate to your Kubernetes cluster. Now that I already have the a delegate already up and running, let's see if it is if it's running, and let's see the state and whether it's running. So you just need to give the command get pods -all namespaces, and let's see, and yes, my delegate is running, my pod is up and running. And let me come back to the page and click on done, and yes, I have the delegate in place. And now, so once you have it's connected, now the next step will be a pipeline creation. So come back to the pipeline and give a name to the pipeline. I have given it as a deploy stage. Click on continue, and then create a stage that you need. Like a pipeline is nothing but a collection of stages, and for our demo we are going to create one stage. So create a stage, and select, so when you're creating a stage, you'll be asked service definition that you want to go with. Click on that and save it. It's similar to this, selecting deploy and giving a name. So let's get inside the stage. And now the first step in a stage creation is new service step. So this step is a service is nothing but it holds your service definitions, your artifacts, your manifests. Okay, so I already have a service created. Let's get inside. So I've given a name to it. I've created the manifest. Let me tell you how I tried to create it. Let's get inside. You have multiple options available. Click on the one that you need. Click on continue. Now you need to create a new GitHub connector. As I have already created a connector, let me show you how I tried to create it. Let's get inside. I have given a name to the GitHub connector. Click on continue. Now I am picking the manifests from this particular GitHub account. So just give the GitHub account this URL and come back, paste it. You copy the repository from where you're picking the manifests. So it will be the harness docs. Come back, paste it, click on continue, and then give your credentials of your GitHub account. So I've given the username, and I have created a PAT, a personal access token, to save it as a secret value. Let's quickly see how I tried to create a PAT here. So I just went back to my GitHub account, then clicked on settings, then went to developer settings, then I created personal access token. Click on tokens classic, then click on generate new token, click on generate new token classic, and then create a new token. And just select the scopes that that is relevant and you want to have it. Click on generate token. You have to copy this and paste it over here and save it. I have already done this before, and so let me close it and click on continue. You have an option of connect through a harness platform and connect through a harness delegate. I am selecting connect through a harness delegate. If I am selecting this, then I need to choose a delegate that I want to perform this task. You will not have an option of use any available delegates. I pick the one, click on save and continue. So once you click save and continue, it will verify your connector. If it passes, then you can see this as green, that it passed the your connector verification successfully. Otherwise, you can see a red dot here, that means it failed. Now let's select the one which I need and click on apply selected. Now click on continue and give a name. You can create you can choose a repository name, whichever that you want. So from where you're picking your manifest. So I am picking my manifest from this particular repository. Let me take you. So it's from here. So I have mentioned it and give it the what type of git fetch type you want, the branch where your manifests are present. Just check the branch before you add it, and then come back and then copy that the folder path. Just go to the files, go to the template. So here is my manifest, Kubernetes manifest. Copy this path and just paste it over here and then click on submit. So now our Kubernetes manifests are created. Now let's see how I tried to create value manifests. So let me click on this edit. Now again you have multiple manifest types, but for my example I need values YAML. Click on values YAML, click on continue. Now select the GitHub connector that you chose in the beginning for selecting the Kubernetes manifest. Click on that, click on apply selected. Now click on continue, give a name. You can give any name. Again, when you're selecting from the repository, check again where you are going to pick it. It is from harness docs repository. Come back, add it. Again check the branch. Then this path where your value YAML manifests are present, go there, check once where it is present. And I have multiple YAML files here and I want to go with this particular YAML file. So copy this path and just add it over here, click on submit. Now my manifests are ready. Now you have to select an artifact. You have to create an artifact, right? Let me show you how I tried to create the artifacts. So before I go with that, let me take you to my portal page and let me show you how I tried to create the Kubernetes service and the container registry. So let me go to the Kubernetes service. Go to the create a Kubernetes cluster and just add the details here, a resource group where you want to have it, and a cluster name. You can select the zones if you need, and keep the AKS server availability 99.95%, and you can have this node size selected. So again the one which I have told you in the beginning, and just see how you want to keep it a manual or auto scale it. Make sure that whatever I've told it in the beginning, those configurations are followed. Otherwise your pod will be pending. Just select all this, click on go to the next, choose everything, the details what you want, and click on review and create. Okay, so now I've already created the Kubernetes cluster. I have 2 clusters here running. Now let me show you how I try to do the container registry. Okay, so let me go to the container registries, click on create, and select the resource group, registry name that you want to have. It should be unique, and give a location and the SKU which you want to have, and just click on review and create. You can see the networking and everything, but click on review and create. Now as I've already having 2 registries, container registries in place, so let me use the same thing for the demo. Now as I've told you, make sure that whichever the container registry or the Kubernetes cluster you are using for this particular project has the permissions that I have told in the beginning. Okay, for example, now in this container registry I am going to use harness 1 for my example. So go to the access control and go to view my access and see what permissions you have. So you need to have a reader permission. Yes, good enough. Now go back to your Kubernetes service. Go to the cluster that Kubernetes cluster that you're going to use for your project. See what role is assigned. Okay, and like if you have followed the the permission that I have told in the beginning. So just click on view my access and yes, good enough. So now our AKS cluster as well as our container registry is good. Now what you have to do is, the next part for us will be going to the so the first thing is picking you can do a Docker pull and pull an image, and you can just push it to your container registry. I already have an Nginx image here, so let me use that. And as usual, I have used all the commands that you need to push your image to the container registry. So I've tagged it. So I could see that it is tagged, and yeah, it is tagged. And once I have that, just I have pushed it, and once you have pushed it, just come back and just go back to your container registries, go back here, go back to your repositories and check. Yes, it is pushed, right? So now what you have to do is, let's go back to our harness page. So here, when you're creating an artifact, so I have already an artifact connector created. Let me take you inside. So you have multiple options you want. Just click on the one you need. Click on continue. Now you have to create a new Azure connector. Okay, so like as I've already having a connector in place, let me show you how I try to create it. Okay, just just make sure I have multiple connectors here. Just make sure you're navigating to the right connector if you have created, or if you want to create it, just follow this step and give a name to it. Click on continue. Now you have two options. Either you can specify credentials from your the service principal that you have created, that I had discussed in the beginning, or you can choose the credentials of specific harness delegate. Okay, so just choose the environment. It is Azure Global, and this client ID, as it is I am picking this credentials of a specific harness delegate installed on a Kubernetes cluster. Let us go back. Give me a while. Let me take you and say if I am using any of this cluster. Example, if I am say picking this particular cluster, make sure that you copy the client ID of it and paste it over there. Okay, so which it can be any of the thing, either you can pick this one or this one and you do it. So for that, what we need to do is go to the managed identities. You just need to, as I've told you, pick any one that you need. Example I'm giving you how I've picked. So just you have to copy the client ID and that's it. Paste it over here. Then click on continue. And you can again choose the connection type that you want to connect to a harness delegate or you want to connect through a harness platform. That's fine. So I want to connect through a harness delegate. Let me select that, click on continue, and with that you will not be able to use any available delegates, but you need to specify the delegate you want to perform the task. Click on the delegate that is active and click on save and continue. So like as I've told you before, that if your test connector, that step pass, then you will get green. That means it is successful. The connection test is successful. Or the red, as I showed you before, that means it didn't get through. So now let me select the one which I want and click on apply selected. Okay. So now once I have selected, click on continue and make 100% sure that all these permissions are assigned and you have picked that client ID, the right client ID from the the managed identities that I showed you some time back, because your artifact details depends upon the connector, how correctly you have tried to create the connector. Sometimes if the connection test passes also, it should pick it, it automatically, like you are not mentioning anything over here. So if it is correct, it is going to pick all these details, otherwise you will not be able to run it. Okay, so just give all this details and you just need to click on submit. Click on submit. Okay, now I am going to so this is the how we are going to create an artifact, right? So next, go to the next step. You can save it and yeah, so it's good. Click on continue. Now you have to create an environment and an infrastructure. Now I've already have an environment ready. Just click on edit, go back here, see how I've tried to do it. Yeah, so I have given a name to it. I have given an environment type, a production, pre-production, so production, and just click on save. Now go to the infrastructure. I have already created it. Click on edit. So here give a name to it. So the deployment type is Kubernetes, that I want to deploy it on a Kubernetes cluster according to my use case. And the cloud provider here I am going to choose this Microsoft Azure. Now you have to give the details. Again I am telling you that make sure that all the permissions, the connectors, everything, all these dots, end to end it matches. Otherwise if any issue, then it will not pick. So it will show up that there's no subscription ID, or there's no resource group, or there is no cluster. So make sure you take your time and do that carefully. And here, so my subscription ID, I've copied it and pasted. The resource group is harness demo. So the cluster is AKS cluster creation. So the one which I have, so let me show you. So this is the subscription ID. I've copied it and pasted here. So it has picked up this, and the cluster whichever you want, and so you will get an option. You can select and keep it as a default. And the resource group is, let me show you the resource group. So that is the harness demo, so that I have tried to use here. And if all good, click on save and continue it. Now we have the complete setup ready. It's just that we need to run the pipeline. So I hope this is clear. So let's get, let's move forward and run it. Click on run. So now you need to select the, the artifact that you want to, and click on the tag. So just give it some time. Yeah. So just select it and click on Run Pipeline. Now it has started, and once it is successful with all the creation, so this is how it looks like. So basically it has, you know, it has went to my subscription using this registry. It has pulled the image that I was telling. This was the container registry. This was the image that I showed you, that we did a Docker push that time, that we pushed an image to the container registry. So that is this part, and then your infrastructure gets created, and through the rollout deployment you are going to do the deployment successfully. Right. So here we have used a rollout deployment. So this is a standard Kubernetes rolling update, and by default Harness uses a 25% max unavailable and a 25% max search strategy. That is meaning to say that when the rolling update begins, it can create 25% of new pods and kill 25% of old pods. So if you have set both of these fields 0, for example, I am giving an example, then the case will be like, the rolling update can't create new pods because no overhead is allowed, and it can't kill any old pod because no loss of capacity is allowed. So in this case, the rolling update cannot proceed and it is an invalid configuration. So I hope this was insightful, and please ping us if you have any questions, and thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to Harness Community channel. Thank you.